Hey guys, today I want to show you my very own onlay that I created with Marvelous Molds. It's a bird design that I created many years ago for a wedding cake. Ta-da! And I had to hand cut the bird, hand cut the leaves and the flowers. Now you could do it in a much easier way. Here you can see the pattern and it makes beautiful wedding cakes, sculpted cakes, anything with a beautiful textile pattern. I'm Elisa Strauss and we're mixing it up in the kitchen today. To use the onlay, there's some great videos on marvelousmolds.com website just to use any kind of generic onlay. But since this is a special design, it has a bunch of cutouts, I thought I'd show you how to do it. Here I have some fondant rolled out fairly thin. If you want, you can use a pasta machine. I like to just roll it out by hand. And the key to making the onlay work nicely is that it's completely even. So if you know you have a steady hand and can go back and use a fondant smoother, that's the best way, or again, just to use a pasta machine. Then I've lightly coated my onlay with cornstarch, and then I knocked it out, and so that gives it a nice surface. Now I'm going to just lay the fondant over the onlay. And you can use fondant, you can use gum paste, you could use modeling chocolate, really any kind of sugar dough will do. And the first thing you want to do is just use your hands and get the sugar dough in the design of the onlay. It's almost like you're making a rubbing. And in fact, you can use the onlay just like that. You could emboss it into the fondant and then dust it later or paint it, and the design will show, and it's beautiful. So now I'll just go back in with a fondant smoother and I'll press a little harder. And so what happens now is that you can see the blade of the silicone coming through. And that's what's going to actually cut the design. So in the olden days when I made this design by hand, I literally had to cut out every little petal or pipe the branch, and honestly, it didn't look that great. So now with this onlay technology, it's amazing because you can see the entire design in one surface. Now that I have all the blades coming through, I can pull off the excess, slow as you go. And if for some reason a few little pieces come up, don't worry, just roll it back over and push down with your finger. It just means it was a little too thick in that area. And one of the things that makes this onlay so special, in my opinion, is its lacy quality. It's like a very custom design, but in this format. So what makes it so lacy is taking out parts of it. So again, I'm just going to make sure all the little areas have the blades coming through. And then I'm going to go in, I like to use a scalpel, but any kind of knife or sharp tool, just to take out these little windows. So I have the bird's eye and then all these little extra sections that make it nice, lacy, and branchy. Before we attach it to the cake, we need to glue it. So in order to do that, I'm going to use some gum glue. If you didn't have gum glue, you could just use water or some egg whites, but I find that the gum glue is thick enough that it holds it, but it doesn't run or spread. So if you were doing a darker color, like I did with the brown, you want to make sure that the color doesn't bleed. So I just do a little dab, but you want to get it all over so that everything sticks to the cake. And if you forget, you can kind of just look at an angle and see where it's shiny so you know what parts you've already painted. Okay, so I can see from the side that the glue is all over my onlay. And so before I attach it to the cake, what I'm going to do is just stretch it. Like I do with any mold, I want to make sure that all of the little areas are ready to come out so that when I apply it to my cake, there's nothing that's going to get stuck in the mold. So now you'll see I've already started the pattern, and so this is a half finished cake. Normally I wouldn't do this before, but I left it empty here so that I can put my hand here as I put the onlay on. So I'm going to just put it next to my cake. And you'll see it fits perfectly right in here where the other flower ends. And I'm not worrying about the whole thing standing up. I want to secure it to the cake, but I'm most concerned with this part here. So I use the heat of my hand to just gently push it against the cake. And then what I can do is I just want to push the first part here, and then I'm gently going to pull the onlay back, just a little bit at a time, especially if this is your first time doing it. You can't work too slowly, just so you get the hang of it. And so you gradually pull it back till you start to see the design taking shape. And especially since this pattern is so beautiful and lacy, you'll see it has so many little details, but they all come out. That's what's so amazing about the onlay. I wish I had this 10 years ago. You could also see that here I just took a little bit of royal icing and added a few little details. They certainly don't need it because there are all of these little indents in the leaves, so you already have tons of details without piping, but it just adds another dimension. And so you'll see it just keeps continuing around, and I have another surprise for you. Ta-da! Now you can see a pretty in pink two-tier cake that uses both the bird onlay, and it also uses 2 brooch molds from my fashion collection. Here you can see how I use these brooch molds that I normally use on shoes and handbags, but here I made them into a lacy pattern that goes with our bird motif. Remember, you can get all of these molds at marvelousmolds.com, and if you have any questions for me, please post them below and I'd love to answer them. All the ingredients that I use and equipment are also listed down below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any videos. I'm Elisa Strauss, and we're mixing it up in the kitchen today.